The Black Fat Femme Podcast is a production of iHeartRadio and Dr. John Paul, LLC. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Black Fat Femme Podcast, where all the intersections of identity are celebrated. I am one of your hosts, John, also known as Dr. John Paul, coming to you depressed and highly favored. How are you, Queen Joho?
You know, at least in the midst of depression, she knows she is highly favored. That is what matters. Even in her lowest moment, she still is the highest soldier, okay? Y'all, it is your boy Jordan or Miss Joho if you're nasty. And I have a bone to pick with the infrastructure of the city of San Diego because, as you may have seen, we are not built for this rain.
Water. Yes!
San Diego is not God's toughest warrior. do not give this city the strongest battles because, oh my God, it is rough.
Yeah.
It is, and I mean, so it's funny, not funny because it was sad, but like
it's terrible, yeah.
where I live, it like I definitely live in like a area that has better infrastructure. So like, there was flooding, but not the way that we've seen. So when I saw people's like posts and stuff, I was like, is this even real? Is this in San Diego? But then I had, but
from you.
so like 15 minutes. So Southeast San Diego, which is historically like around historically lower income and historically like an area that isn't as resourced by by our city. So I went there for a workshop of the day, and I was driving. I could see like people. I saw like city workers shoveling mud, and I was like, oh, I think this is like probably where it was. And then at the event, it was confirmed because the folks that were hosting the event were like really intentional in saying it's great that y'all got here safely, but you have to recognize that this is part of the city that has been hit the hardest. And so when we say this, people need help, like this is what has happened. And it was horrible. And so I just like this makes me. Like if I were to go back to school, I would look at urban planning because I want to come up with ways to make our city safer, more accessible, less impacted by the seasons, and like a better place for everyone to thrive. Like it really isn't like there are actually many people who are still experiencing like impacts of that flood. It was also wild because the weather had told us it was not going to be like that deep. And baby, it was that deep. It was wild.
Yeah, I saw a reel of it and I thought to myself, I was like, this has to be old because I'm not seeing anyone post about it. And then like within like literally, I would say within minutes, I saw all of like my Apple notifications starting to go off that there was a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, wow, it's actually happening like right now. So this is just another reminder that climate change is real, that we are seeing places that have never, like even with flash floods. And someone was just even saying within like DC, I saw someone today posting on social media of how like last week it was like 10 degrees in DC and like today it's 70 degrees and everyone's like, what is going on? And so, yeah, girl, we just, the Mother Earth is really, really tired of us.
She is putting us through it. She is.
Yeah, Mother Earth. So
I mean,
she needs a vacation, just like me. She needs a vacation. Like me. But with that being said, in tradition, we're gonna go ahead and give Miss Tisha Campbell her flowers. And for this week, I wanted to ask you, what is a song that is currently getting you through? And I want to say this question is a little selfish for me because by the time you hear this, I will have gone to see the Shandellas live in LA. I want to shout out Claude Kelly, who has been an amazing friend to me, who is basically hooking me up to be able to go see them and meet them. And so I will report back about what that was like, because y'all know one thing about me that you should know is that the Shandellas are those girls to me. As for me and my home, we celebrate the Shandellas. And it's just the way that they do R&B. I'm very much an old school 70s, 80s, 90s kind of girl when it comes to R&B. This new R&B is not doing it for me, and so I appreciate the harmonies, I appreciate the fun, I appreciate the joy that a lot of their songs have. And I wanted to specifically shout out. So one, I love all of the girls in the group. Shout out to just anybody and everybody who like me loves the Shandellas, but they have a song on their newest album Shindo called Good as Gold, and it really is a song that I keep returning to because sometimes they have a way of writing songs and their songs feeling like they're directly meant for me to hear, and so it's like I feel like the universe is speaking directly through them to me whenever I hear that song. It's just a really beautiful song. It really is. And when I say it's a very upbeat song, but it's basically saying like, we spend so much time driving ourselves nuts trying to be perfect. And sometimes we just don't
Mm,
stop to like remind ourselves that like we're good as gold, we're good the way that we are. And
mm,
so to their credit, it's just like I know Claude, and I know that everyone over at their widow workshop, like whew, they write down over there. But I want to
mm,
definitely say that song and that album has been getting me through. So shout out to the Shandellas, shout out to Claude Kelly and
mm.
everyone over at Weirdo Workshop. I really appreciate y'all. But what about you, Joho?
So I haven't listened to the Shandelas yet, but I know you post them quite a bit, and a lot of people do, and I'm always like, I should listen to them because they look so cool, and because
Yeah,
they give you like Supremes retro
very that.
vibes, right? So and so
Mhm.
I this is a great sign to me to for me to listen to them. I
Yeah,
would say so. I have two songs. I had one song that I was going to say originally, but this week, this week I've been leaning into Indiari, her song "This Too Shall Pass," and
yeah.
people don't like. I feel like so many folks don't always love a soulful queen, but I love me some India Arie.
Yeah,
Like I grew up with India Arie, but she's a song I think from her first album, I think from Acoustic Soul, called
yeah,
"This Too Shall Pass." It's just a song that I go to often in like my trials and tribulations eras.
yeah,
And I'm leaning to a lot this week, so that's the song that gets me through it a lot. It's 5 minutes 55 seconds, which is an engine number of like getting through things. So I was like, okay, she knows what she was doing. That's a good one. And then also, I hate to be basic like this, but that new Ariana Grande song really is getting me through it. Like it
I
really
can't
is
get
because
into it.
yes, and is a whole bop. Like taking
Mm,
all the BS with the yes and is kind of a vibe. And when she
mm,
says,
mm.
I won't hide underneath your own projections or change my most authentic life, girl, bars. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Like it was just so simple. Go off, AG. Go off. Like I'm an AG stan in a lot of ways, not in some
okay,
ways.
yeah,
But I'm not ignorant to the issues she has caused in many
right,
ways.
right, right,
You know,
right, right, right.
and the things in which I'm like, do you show up as your full self in this way when you appropriate Black culture? Um, and and I, we're all a little bit problematic in some ways, and I still
See,
listen to a lot of her music. But then when the
yeah,
song came out, I was like, oh, it's a hit. I fear because it really just grows on you.
yeah, I fear.
It's a hit. I fear because it's giving it's giving Vogue. It's giving ballroom. It's like it's giving all the
Mhm.
like she knows the lane to be in right now. It's interesting because I'm like, if this music she made from Jump, I would say this is better than like when you try to go into trap and shit. Like you have to do all
Right,
that.
right,
This
right,
could
right,
have been
right.
your lane from the beginning, or
Mhm.
or her OG lane from her first two albums.
Yeah,
But this really is just about the
yeah,
songs, and it's getting me
I
through.
think yeah, I wanna acknowledge that, yes, I'm happy that there are songs that are getting you through, even if it is a song like I said, this song for some reason I haven't been able to really like it has not caught
Mm,
me yet, and I think a big part of it is kind of like the way that, Imma just say it, the white gays, they have a way of taking certain songs and,
mm.
they just running them to the ground or ruining them for me,
I
and
see
I
it.
feel like
Yeah,
this is one of those songs, but also like Padam. When Padam came I loved Padam when that song came out, and then
Black
it was
Gate's written a
just
lot of things.
yeah, they
That's
just
fair.
like they and I just was like, I'm good, like, Imma go
Mm,
ahead and just let y'all have that," and that's kind of what I feel about this
mhm.
Yes And song is like
You know
something
what? I feel
in
that.
yeah, it's not maybe my own and again, maybe I am projecting my feelings that I have for queer community onto this song. Sorry, Ari, but, it's one of those things for me
Sorry,
where I'm like,
Ari.
I'm glad that it's helping you.
You know, I have divested from white gays, so most of the folks I
Mhm.
follow are queer folks of color, and
Yeah,
so a lot of the black gays I've been seeing, like our good sis Dexter Mayfield had like within hours of the song being dropped, right? Like they had posted the choreo,
love it.
to which then Ariana
I did,
reposted
I
to her
saw
story.
that.
And I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Okay,
yeah.
bitch," but, like,
Yeah,
so for me, it's been helpful to only see Black folks and queer and
okay.
other queer folks of color
Well
do do the dance because you're right, the white gays really do ruin everything, and I'm sure
ooh, baby,
in a
they
week,
run it
I'd
to
be
the
like
ground, honey, to the white meat. Oh, but anyway, all that to be said, while y'all browse the Shandellas, catalog because again, they have 2 albums, they have a whole bunch of features. Y'all should be listening to them. We're gonna take a quick break to pay these bills, but we will be
Okay.
back with the segment of Category Is. We'll be back in a second.
Okay, fam, we are back, and this week we're going to talk about something that we've touched on in a Still Here segment before. A few episodes back, though, we talked about our favorite experiences in a queer space. It really got us thinking. Unless you live in a queer-centric neighborhoods like they have in San Diego, San Francisco,
Mhm.
New York, obviously LA, DC, finding queer community can be a little bit hard.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
with rapid bills going into place every day and folks simply trying to ban every right we have in these streets, it's always timely for us to talk about the importance of queer spaces. So we're gonna get into
Yeah.
that a lot today.
Yeah, I love that you start off the this segment really talking about the need for queer spaces because as you know, last week I went to San Francisco and
Mhm.
I went to a comedy slash a podcast, a live podcast recording while I was out there. And it just, being in San Francisco, it is a very queer city, even if you're not in the Castro
Mhm.
district. And I think to
Mhm.
myself often of like maybe like thinking about how much trauma I've taken in living where I currently live, right? Like I always think about myself thinking, especially when this conversation came up, that was what initially made me say, let's take this into a broader conversation because I always am thinking like, what would my life have been if I lived in a place where I felt like my queerness wasn't such an issue,
Mm.
wasn't such a burden, right?
Mhm.
Like I living and you probably feel this now living in SoCal, like you're having to navigate
Yeah.
racism, you're having to navigate queer phobia, and then you're having to navigate both the racism and the queer phobia and how exhausting that can be. And
And
so
the anti-Semitism as well. Whew,
and
it's
all
a
of that, right, the
trifecta.
anti-Semitism. Right, it's a trifecta, like, so people laud, and I hate that we already feel like I'm going left with this couple, but people laud SoCal as being a very liberal place, and it's not. It truly isn't, and
Mhm.
so, kinda to get back to what you're saying, I
Okay.
think we often talk about our experiences in these spaces, but no one really talks about why these spaces are so essential and so important for us to have. And so I guess, as your sister, and I wanted to kind of ask you, especially seeing in the last couple of months. So like you
Mhm.
moved
To a queer
where you were
neighborhood.
from to move back to a queer neighborhood. And so I wanted to
Yes.
ask you, like, what has living or what has being near a queer space done for you? And why do you think it's important for us to talk about it or revisit it?
Yeah, so this is a really great question, and it's an interesting thing because before I moved to my condo, I was living in an area that was very queer friendly and
Mhm.
had good queer folks, but like it wasn't like the neighborhood; it was
Right.
adjacent to it. And so, but when I moved out of that, like when you ask a question like what has it done for me? Was it so important? Like when I lived in this area that was more queer centric and queer focused and moved out of it, I didn't think about how much. I mean, I knew how much I needed it because before that, I was living in North County, San Diego, which
Mhm.
was which
Mhm.
is where I was living was like very military, very straight, very much more white. And so when I moved down, it felt great. But I also was living. It was like peak pandemic, so I wasn't building
Right.
community in the
Right.
way that I wanted to. So when I moved, by the time the things opened up and felt better to do things, particularly outside, I
Yes.
moved from that and moved into my condo, which was great in many ways as a fulfilling person for self. But then I lacked queer community and queer experiences like in my daily
Right.
life,
Right.
unless I traveled to Hillcrest, which is a 15-20 minute drive. And really, people don't think of that like to some people it's not a big deal, but when you're used to walking 15 minutes somewhere, the
Right. Right.
driving 15 minutes is a whole different ballgame. Like I have to get in
Right.
my car,
You have
go
to
on the
plan it.
freeway, exactly. And so
Mhm.
it becomes a lot different. I think my answer to this question would have been different too if you asked me before I moved here, but now that I live here, it provides me like I have a different sense of safety that I don't feel in non-queer spaces, which is interesting
Right.
because I want to name like I'm not inherently safe just because I live in a queer area. Like I'm not safe
Right.
from racism still. I'm not safe from anti-Semitism. I'm not safe from fat phobia. I'm not safe from homophobia. Like there was literally someone
Right.
who got who got in attacked, like who got gay bashed like a block and a half away from me. Like I have a friend who had told me that there are straight folks who had literally followed me and punched him in the face. Like I'm not immune to that still being here, but
Right.
there's an inherent higher sense of safety that I have here than in other places. And knowing that if something happens, like because of the context of this area, I can get better services and help and support. I live
Right.
a block away from the LGBT center. Not that I use it because I have my own thoughts about but
Right, right.
I live close to it. Like there is a queer theater right by me. I'm right by all the queer bars, and I'll say the law by a lot of the gay bars because they're mostly male dominated, which is a whole different issue in itself too. Although there's a women's bar, a women's and feminine non-binary bar that's on the block too, which I really love. And so I'll just say
Mhm.
like I feel less physical endangerment than I would around those spaces.
Right.
Which I also think also brings up an interesting conversation of how we negotiate safety in different spaces and like what levels of safety we want, desire, or expect in some spaces over this,
Right, right, right.
But queer spaces themselves give me a chance to explore myself on a deeper level by connecting with completely different people. Like queer folks in my
Mhm.
experience have been more likely to discuss topics of kink, sexual health, ethical non-monogamy, deeper conversation about who we are, how we are different, how we're the same, and it's
Yeah,
given me more language to explore and figure myself out sexually, visually, verbally, all the things. Right? They feel more
yeah, yeah.
expansive in how people show up in a different vernacular or attire. Right? Like one thing I love about being black and queer is like there is specific black queer lingo and vernacular that I use with other queer black folks that I
Mhm.
don't get to do with like white queer folks or
Right,
straight folks
right, right.
who try to use it. I just saw this. What was
Baby.
it? Someone I just heard. There's a show called Sort of on HBO. They just dropped their last season, I think fourth season. Um, and what was the name? There was a name that one of the characters used of like a woman, like a cis woman or cis person who will use like trans folks as their like tranpire. It was a tranpire, like someone who can be like, which I was like, bitch, I'm screaming. Like they said tranpire, I was like, oh my god, stop. And like there are cis
Yes.
het folks who will absolutely try to bite your
They try
shit
to out
because
queer, out trans someone.
okay, they will
Yes.
bite your shit because you are a queer and or trans person, and
Right.
especially a person of color. Like
I'm
it's just rough
living.
interesting. I know I was like transpire. I
Okay.
gag. I was
Yeah.
like stop, but
Yes.
I'll just say it's
I'm
more for us to talk about this, revisit this often because
mhm.
queer spaces are shifting a lot as well too right now, right? Due to the effects of the
Right.
pandemic and policy adjustments and suggestions being introduced in our government, like queer spaces are shifting a lot in terms of where people can go, how they can show up, especially when you live in different states where they don't have as much queer acceptance and queer resources. Like I appreciate the point
Right.
you made of people think SoCal is a liberal place. Like there are pieces of SoCal that are liberal, but like California itself is actually not the liberal mecca which everyone thinks it
Nope.
is.
Nope.
There are
Nope.
the pieces in the metropolitan areas, but like even in San Diego, like there are many folks who are liberal in terms of like yes they support slash tolerate like gay marriage, right? But they still will vote Republican, like they still will
They
vote
sure
for Trump in
will.
some ways,
Yep,
So
they sure will. And a
yeah,
little bit of a history lesson, right? So, like, I mean, it's related, but not really related. And I think this is why it was so important for me to like want to expound on this conversation, thinking about how, maybe it was like 10 or 15 episodes ago that we brought this up in a Still Here segment. I grew
mm-hmm.
up predominantly in the Riverside County area, right? And I went to school in San Bernardino County. But between the two of those counties, I went to school during a time that Prop 8 was really big. And Prop 8 was, for those of you who are not familiar with California or California
Girl,
law, Prop 8 was a
mm-hmm.
big deal in 2008. And to say all of that, it was the majority of Riverside County that voted
Mm.
against Prop 8 that made it lose, right? Um and we're thankful that now, obviously 2013, we get a president who comes in and retracts all of this stuff, right, for us. And so now we have the ability to get married. But all that to be said, right, like I think it's imperative for us to talk about kind of the pros and the cons of being in queer spaces and the importance of them. Because like you said, I think about specifically, this past weekend. So by the time you all have heard this, it'll be about a week before it'll be a week that has passed since I've been at Sundance. And I think
Mm.
I went to a screening of they were doing I think it was like a 20 or 25-year revisit of the Harvey Milk documentary that premiered at Sundance. And
Mm.
I think I wanted to mention it, initially I didn't have these in our notes, but I wanted to mention it because I think about all that Harvey Milk did in San Francisco to make queer people feel safe to come out there, right? And even though his life was ended, in a very tragic way,
Mhm.
there's still ways that the Castro district said we're not going to let this very terrible thing run us away or make us feel like we can't be who we are, but we're also going to create a community. And so I think
Mhm.
about, for me, Riverside, going downtown Riverside, for any of you who listen to the show locally and live in, Southern California, you'll know that, downtown Riverside is pretty, considering the Inland Empire, between Claremont and between Riverside, those are pretty much really queerly safe places, right? So I don't feel
Mm.
to talk about, right, like what when you talk about fear, fear and safety and things of that nature. I think it's also for us important. It's important for us to also think about, like, is the area predominantly white? Is it a place where there's a high
Mm.
police presence? Like, there are all of these things, and so I want to talk. I want to say, as we're having this conversation, that it is nuanced, that safety is relative in all accords. But what I will say
Mhm.
is that even in the moments that I've been in spaces that were queer spaces, and I'm talking about going to the Menagerie in Riverside, or going to VIP, or going to a club called Oasis that now no longer is here. And we talked about that in the episode a
Mm.
couple, a
Mhm.
couple episodes ago. Like, having all of these places to go to, yes, they were great to go to. And yes, I may have had some really fucked up experiences in those spaces, but at the end of the day, they were still my places, right? Like, when I was coming up, it was still a place that I knew I could go see my girl Mayhem Miller. Shout out to Mayhem. I knew I could go out and see Delta work. I knew I could go give Ray
Mhm.
a hug. I knew if I went out by myself, even on the nights when I went out by myself, I knew, like, I will say that that's one of the things. And I want to say that, like, shout out to Delta work, because I can remember going to the club by myself and sitting at the bar, and Delta work finishing her drag, trying to get ready to dart out, and seeing me sitting in the club by myself, and then coming over and ordering a drink and sitting with me and talking to me. Like,
Mm.
same thing.
Mm.
That's how me and Mayhem became friends. Like, that, like, it
Mm.
just it was one of those things of, like, and I also have to name, like, Delta work is Latine, Mayhem Miller is black. It gave me a sense of, like, we're all IE queens. We're trying to figure out this shit by ourselves. We don't really know. And I
Mhm.
mean, even thinking about, like, going to LA at times, like, I will say, like, there were times Rage is no longer a club that exists, and it sucks. But even times we went to Rage and it was really fun. Like, it was just like I
Yeah.
said, even with all of the white gays doing really shitty things to the black girls and the Latinate girls that were in the club, we were still having a good time. And it was 4 to 5 hours of our lives where we didn't
Mm.
have to be sad. And so I think, before I give, the mic back over to you, I think
Mhm.
it is imperative for me not to name, while we've had things like Pulse happen, and we have the thing that happened in Colorado that happened, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Yes, it is scary to be like, these are things, like, when you're out in queer spaces, you're always having to clock. I know for me, every time I go into any space, even if it's queer or not, I'm clocking every single
Girl,
exit.
say it. Say it.
I'm
Mhm.
always thinking about an escape route no matter where I am. Um, like, I mean, even being in my hotel room, I was like, I wonder if I could throw one of these chairs through the window if something happens. Like, I'm always thinking about how to get away if something goes down, because I think, as a black queer person, you can't not be thinking about your safety 24 hours a day, 25 hours a day. If
Facts.
because I be
Facts.
thinking about safety in my sleep, child. But I say, I look
25
at this,
8, yep.
bitch. But I do say that to say, like, I think it is very important for us to say that queer spaces are good for us. And when I say they're good for us, I mean, even with, and I'm gonna use the word minutia, and you laughed, even with the minutia of the that we have, right? Like, and it's funny because anytime when I wrote this, I saw, what is her name? When she was like, "Women's stories just matter. Women's stories, they just matter." Oh, I can see her.
I
Witherspoon.
know.
What is her
Reese
name?
Reese with a spoon.
Yeah, women's voices just matter. The women's stories, they just matter. That's how I felt about this. Like, queer spaces matter. They just matter. Queer spaces matter.
Sorry, y'all have to take a moment because minutia, y'all are like, yes, that's the right use of the word. we laugh because John
Yeah,
had texted me
mhm.
minutia is spelled and not the way the minutia is spelled,
No,
and they
no,
put it
not at all.
on the shelf though minutia. I'm in Cameroon,
It's Cameroon,
minutia.
it's Cameroon! Yes, the minutia of it all, but no, just queer
I
spaces
scream.
matter, they just
Ooh,
matter.
they do.
Mhm.
They just matter, but it's actually such a great point because queer spaces at the very root of them function as this meeting place for queer folks to meet safely. And
Yeah, yeah.
I mean safely in the sense of without the guessing games of do I feel safe enough to share who I am
Who
with
I
this
am.
person.
Yes,
Like I
yes,
think a
yes.
lot about I think queer folks check on each other like in all spaces. Like I think all the times in which I went to queer spaces or like even in like straight spaces, right? Like if I went out to straight bars and I see a girl that's fucked up, there was no straight man who was gonna be like, girl, you good?
Yeah,
Straight men would try to holler at her and I'd be like, hey sis, you okay? Girl,
yeah.
you look a little drunk. Do you want me to call you Uber? Right? Queer
Mhm,
folks
mhm.
in many places that I've been and seen have always looked out for each other and been like, sis, you good? Sis, don't take that drink. Don't touch
Uh-huh.
that drink. Like I
Don't talk
you know
to
I
him.
think
Yeah,
don't talk to him. You know
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen folks like when I remember when I went to VidCon 2028 and I went to like the queer space by YouTube and I was like I was watching it was like just seeing everyone kiki and stuff and I was sitting by myself and I remember I was just seeing by myself I think one because I just was overwhelmed but also because like I don't know anybody so I'm just chilling and some like in
Right, right.
Carly Velasquez, who like was on BuzzFeed and on but I like was there and like and I'm really they said to me and they're like I hope you know that you are an interesting person. Like I see you sitting here by yourself. I I don't know what you think of yourself, but I hope you're an interesting person, and you're a really cool person that just like belongs to be in a space like this. It was like so special. I mean, Barbie was like, yeah, girl, I know I am, but you know, but it's also like a I that part changed that moment changed me. Right, it was a moment where I was like. Queer folks actively love each other, even if they don't
Mhm.
know who each other are, even if they hate
Yeah,
each other, right? They still love each other because at the end of the day, like you are queer, you are my sis. Like
yeah, yeah.
I don't give a fuck if if I punch like I'll treat you like my sibling. I'll punch you in the face. But you're
Right,
my
and
sis. So
amen,
don't
and I
nobody
will
else fuck with
say
you.
this right, I will say this, like, I remember very much remember there was one time that this white queen, I think she had a little bit too much to drink, was acting a fool at one of the clubs in LA, and I think it might have been Rage if I'm correct, but I do
Mhm.
remember, like, when you talk about people stepping up, it was me and another friend, and it was just us 2, and this queen was going back and forth with my friend, and I jumped in and was like, "Girl, you're not gonna be talking all kind of mess," and when I tell you that those black girls saw me and my other black friend going off on this little white girl and all the black queens like was like y'all good y'all need any help and it was like oh my god like I will say like I have more moments when I'm out and about where I'll have someone see me and I will see them and it is such a positive interaction than I don't and that's why I said like I there's a part of me that wishes I wasn't so busy that I could say,
Mhm.
"Oh, Imma go to the club tonight," or "Imma go to West Hollywood and hang out with some of the girls that I know over
Mhm.
there." Because there are just days or even thinking about, like I said, when I was in San Francisco, I was with all queer people all day, both Saturday
Mhm.
and Sunday, and we went out to eat, we went to events, we stood and we laughed and we talked about stuff, and it felt good. It felt really good to be in
Mhm.
a space with queer Black people specifically, and I wanna name that because I often will say, there I'm just gonna also say too, if there are any companies, the people or brands that are listening to this episode or watching this episode, know that it is a missed opportunity that you are not doing something for your Latina, Black, Asian,
Mhm.
BIPOC queer community. Because one, not only do we got a little bit of coin, but also two, we bring the fun. We bring the fun, we bring the joy. And oftentimes I've had people sit with me and say, girl, I don't know you, but I feel like I've known you my whole life. You're so cool. And it's
Mm.
like that's the energy most queer people give. And I say most with an asterisk, but I will say but I will say, like, that's the truth. And I even will say too, like, if we really want to keep it 100, 100, that's how we met. We met in a queer resource center,
Mhm.
right?
To be like,
Yeah,
sis.
and it always felt like that, now you're my sister because you're my sister in so many different other aspects of my life. But at that moment,
Mhm.
it just was really cool for me to be working at an institution where I could blatantly see the queer phobia, the anti-blackness, and you could look at me and say, "Girl, I see it too. You're not nuts." When we would go
Yeah.
out to lunch and we would talk through stuff, it always felt like, thank God there's at least one other person here who gets me and understands. Nobody knows me like you. So, yeah, like
No,
literally,
girl.
it felt like, twin, where have you been? So like,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm.
but that's what
Did
it
you
gives.
Are you watching this new season of Drag Race?
I am.
Okay, okay. Because it's made me think of the moment in Untucked in the last episode where Plain Jane came for a
Mhm.
mandatory meeting, and
Yeah.
like right, like she came up. See, she came up and she was like, "You're a girl I have not I have not connected with look wise," and and girl, the way I was like, okay, that
I'm
one was
still
not
dead about that
that one.
whole.
That one, Loki was a good read. The way she did that,
Yeah.
the delivery was right.
Yeah.
When she kept going, I was like, "Bitch, you fucking up." But
Mhm.
morphine, but more like morphine, who was next to Mantramin, like smiled, cackled, and was like, "Okay, but hold up now. That's my sis, so be careful, right?" Like
Right, right,
this,
right,
like
right, right.
they just met each other that fucking week, and she was like, like
I got you.
that was a cute moment and all, but girl, like, watch out, right? And that is to me is that what underscores, I think, what's queer folks of color, right? Because Morphine is Latine and playing Jane and Mentor like white as hell, right? But like that just underscores
Yeah.
how queer folks of color and black folks and queer folks of color, like they really care for each other in a deeper way that we don't always see, and that is so
True.
special. I
True.
think a lot. I don't remember what you did, John. Like it was, I want to say it was like 2019, but like there was a space that you had cultivated, like I really hope you remember it because I remember seeing pictures of it, and I know you didn't invite me. I couldn't make it, but it was like you and like 10 to 15 other black folks and
Mhm.
other queer folks of color. Like,
Yeah.
it was some like partnership you did. But I remember talking with folks who said they had not had that yet before. They had not
Mhm.
had such intentional space that was crafted for them as black
Oh,
folks,
that
as
was
queer,
with
other folks of color.
Instagram. Yeah, that was
Yes,
with
yes, yes, yes,
Instagram.
yes, yes. Where you
Yeah,
look
it was
mad cute.
right before the pandemic hit too.
You had the cute hat. You had the cute little booties,
Uh-huh.
and truly, like that
Mhm.
was a moment where I think of like that was a testament to how folks show up for each other as queer
Yeah.
folks of color. Because I remember you saying how special that was. I remember people who were there were like, I had never felt so much belonging in space before. That's something that people
Yeah.
don't know. Like, this is why they matter, right? They give space to discover actual parts of themselves. Like I would have never discovered my love for sports if I didn't join a queer
Yeah.
sports league. Like I would have been
Mhm.
like, man, fuck sports ball. That shit's dumb. I
Mhm.
not the last week I had posted I had posted um on the stories, right? It was that thing where it was like type your name in the music and click the first song that came up. I typed Jordan and the song was Jumpman, 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 Jump. And I was like, I don't know
Mhm.
why it came up as Jumpman, right? Because I don't do sports like that.
Right, right.
The first two people were queer folks that were like, it's Jumpman because Michael Jordan. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. And I also was like,
Yeah.
wow, like look at the gays knowing sports. It was not me, but like two gays of color were like, baby Jumpman is Michael Jordan. I was
We
like,
got you.
that's
We
been
go
so much.
teach
Is
you a
that we
little bit.
got
I
you
know that's right.
exactly?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, as we, as we're getting ready to go to commercial, I think the one question that I did have for you, and thinking about being in queer spaces, right? I think we have multiple stories and we have so many things we could talk about, both good and bad. And I think it's important for me to also note that as we're having this conversation, right? Like not all queer spaces are safe spaces. You've
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that all queer spaces are not good spaces. I mean, I'm not trying to knock, but there are some places, you can Google them. There's some places that in
Mm-hmm.
WeHo right now that are having some issues with the media because of the way that we are treated in those spaces.
Mm.
It starts with the A. It starts with the A, ends with the Y. But all that to be said, right? Um, I think it is imperative to note that, like everything, like anything, right there are black spaces that are meant for black people that are not always safe. There are queer spaces that are
Mhm.
for meant for queer people that are not. Like, there's always going to be something because white supremacy and systematic oppression is everywhere and it's built into the fabric of everything that we do. But I do want to ask, while I'm thinking about being in said queer spaces, even for me thinking about like having a queer ass job now, and being
Mm.
around my queer sister and queer brothers and sisters and trans folks folks and babies and, dogs, cats, whatever. It has, being in these queer spaces, for me, like, I guess the question I'm asking, let me reset. The question that I'm asking is how, what has it taught you in terms of how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself? And I'll say for me, before I throw it back to you, is that
Mm,
working in a queer space, going into queer spaces, being in queer spaces with people, meeting queer people like yourself, working on what I like to think is almost an all queer show, right? Like this entire show is edited by a queer person, it's produced by a queer person.
mhm,
We host it. We're on a queer network. Like all of it
mhm.
has taught me about the level of acceptance of self, and really this
Yes.
idea that I need to own a big part of me, which is my queerness. My queerness shapes a
Mm,
lot of the ways I see myself. And I feel like this year, specifically 2024, is going to be about that for me. I am ready for it because I feel like I've done the work, but I haven't been able to own my queerness in the way that I've wanted to. And I really feel like being in queer spaces, being on a queer show, creating queer content all the time. Like, my whole life is very, very much queer. I
mm.
really am thankful for the people that I've met in the different spaces who, feed into that as well. But for you, yeah, what has being in queer spaces taught you?
I'm gonna channel my inner John on this one. To all the folks who laughed at me for being queer, now laugh to the bank because I get paid for it. Like
And
that's what I think about. Like r- romanticize, glamorize, and monetize is how I see it right now. Like
mhm,
it's I mean, and
mhm,
I said that like in a joking way, but really what's taught me is that like being who I am is actually not going to hinder me from the things I want to accomplish in my life. Like I think about all the
amen.
times in which someone said to hide my queerness or mask my queerness because they're afraid of how I won't get this job or I won't get this opportunity or how I won't be seen by this person. And when I realized that if they don't see my full self, I don't want to be there in the first place. If they don't want to hire
Mhm,
me in my full self, I don't want to work in that place in the first place. And so it's taught me a radical acceptance of who I am and
amen.
and who others are. It teaches me the power of being radically different and that not being radically different without being othered. Like being radically different doesn't mean to be an other for it. I can still be like in community with other people, and that is a magic that you don't really find in straight spaces. I also think about like what has building queer spaces taught me, right? Because now
Mhm,
I've worked several years in helping on several years on the Black queer and trans coalition and we've built Black Pride from the ground up. We've built Black Pride that happens to be this will be our fourth annual Black Pride this year, right? We built that from the ground up. And what has that taught me to build spaces is that this shit is hard. It is
it
not
is.
easy. Like you're doing it right, like you're doing actively in your job right now, right? You probably have a bit more infrastructure and resources, and it's still fucking hard. But it's worth it
Tuh,
because when that shit is done, when you're watching the joy in people's eyes and then their laughter and seeing them live their best life in
yeah.
any way that's possible for them in whatever space they occupy, like that is like that's like touched by God to me. That is like what God
Mm,
that's how God manifests in the things. It's taught me. I mean, honestly, being queer has also taught me to love and appreciate God more. Like queer folks have so much strict friction with spirituality and God because of how it's people have used it against us. But me being queer actually makes me the most connected with God, whoever they
amen,
are above me. And
amen.
so when I build queer spaces, I think this is what it means to have godly presence in
Mhm.
something. It really is. It
Yeah,
really is
we really
special.
are a magical people, and I can't
Yes.
not say that. I think doing the show, seeing the way people have responded to the show, seeing how people have been responding to, like, my work. Like, I had a queer person run up to me. I tweeted about it yesterday. I had a queer person at Sundance run up to me and basically, said, "I know you, I follow you. Thank you for what you do. I really appreciate it." And it just it's a really cool feeling to know people see you. And again, when you're in spaces where you don't feel safe, knowing that someone seeing you is you seeing them and it makes you feel safer, like that for me is what's up. So like
Mm,
I kind of throwing it
mhm.
back, you make a really good point to this idea that we genuinely have to literally stand stand on business. You got to stand on business, but you really do have to stand on the idea that being queer is a magical thing, and it ain't nothing like it. Be If you have never been in a space with a lot of queer, specifically queer Black people, you're doing yourself a huge
Girl,
disservice.
okay. You are
You
not
are doing
living.
yourself.
You are not
You
living if you
have
aren't with
not
us.
lived if you are not with us, honey. Yes.
Facts. Facts. Okay. Say that part, bitch. Fam, now that we have reminded you to support your local queer establishment, and especially
Oh
your
yeah.
local queer Black establishments and people and queer folks of color and trans folks of color, we're gonna take one more break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some gay ass food. Mo in a sec.
All right, y'all. So this week we wanted to kind of keep the theme going by shouting out some of our favorite gay places, whether they be gay, actual gay bar or a gay food restaurant establishment, or even if they're gay friendly. And I will say the reason why I have to say
Mhm.
gay friendly is, I travel a lot, and doing even just doing the segment out in my head, I was like, I really need to make an honest effort that anytime I go anywhere, I need to look for a queer establishment so that way I can either one, go support it, but also two, so
Mhm.
I can know what that energy feels like. And if I ever go
Mm.
back, I want to go, or if I ever go back, I
Oh,
go, I never want to go there again. Um, all that to be said, I'm kind of living in my years of yesteryear. And what I will say that the first place that came to mind for me is, so I had a friend. I don't, it's weird because it's like I don't know if we're still friends or not. We follow each other on social, but we don't really talk. So an associate, I guess. I had
they
I
were a
have an
friend. You had a friend. You had a friend.
Yes.
That's
They
facts. You
are
you had a
they
friend.
were yes, they were a really good friend to me in college. Now they're more of an associate. Gotta make the distinction. But when they were a friend to me, I would always go down to San Diego to visit them. And the first place that I always wanted to go was Baja Betty's. And you probably know Baja Betty's because it's probably right outside your
Around
door.
the corner, it
But
is.
baby, it's just again, and it's been years since I've been there, so I don't know if the food is still good. So feel free to wrap around and drive the bus back around and say, is the food still good? Is the bus still
It's
running? It is
so
such, but when I did go there as a little
real.
gayling of my
Mm.
20s, them burritos, they put cracking in burritos because I would spend my last financial aid dollar to get down to San Diego to eat one of those burritos. Baby, you can tell me the
You
Baja
said
Betty's was there.
you said sickening, no? So I yes, I do in fact live by Baja Betty's, and I
Okay.
will be the first to say they are not my favorite,
Oh
but
no. Okay.
but that's also but they're not my favorite because I traverse a lot of San Diego for like good Mexican food,
You
period.
do. You
But
do.
they do have a good Taco Tuesday moment, and I love their bean dip, and the drinks are right, and the
Now the drinks will
vibes
get
are
you
right.
fucked up.
Like the
Yeah.
drink,
The drinks will have you
people
down.
have to understand a Hillcrest pour be different. The Hillcrest pour be different and have you acting different. Okay,
Yes,
As someone
baby.
who has been to many gay bars around the country, even the world, the Hillcrest pour
Yeah.
be fucking you up. You're like, bitch, why?
Yeah.
And the bang for buck is there. So yes, I would say Baja Betty's is a great place to go because they have great brunches. It's a very queer place and you feel at home there. There's
Yeah.
this restaurant on the
Yeah.
other side of Hillcrest called Cocina de Barrio, which is to me, I don't know if they're queer owned, but they're very queer friendly, and they to me have the
Okay.
best brunch, like one
Mhm.
of the best brunches and drinks. It's a bit more upscale, a bit more elevated, but the food's bomb. They have this bomb ass. I think it's like churro pancakes that just get me going every time. The chilaquiles,
Now
fire,
wait a second. Churro
girl.
pancakes. Don't you
Girl,
come on down to
when
San
your ass
Diego,
gets here,
girl.
baby, I will take you there. Okay, I'm gonna take
Yep.
you higher.
Yes.
Now, if you want some good
Yes.
tacos in the neighborhood, La Vecindad is a spot to go. They have really good happy hour deals too. I
Okay.
will say whenever I go to the Bay to go to San Francisco, I always go to Hot Cookie in the Castro because it's a place I always go to
Yes.
for a little dessert moment. If I'm gonna get a
Yes.
Phil's coffee, it's gonna be the Phil's coffee in the Castro as well because it just hits different. It's a hole in the wall place, but it's really
Yeah.
cute. I'm trying to
Mhm.
think of like any other places I have gone to. I mean, if I'm
Is
in
Hot Cookie that place with the penis cookie?
yes, the peanut. It's the
Okay.
penis macaroon,
Yes.
macaroon.
Yes.
Yeah, it's chocolate dip, baby. Chocolate dip, honey dip. It is a
Yes.
bomb.
Okay.
So
Yes.
good.
Okay. Yeah, I will give you that. So I will also add to the list of favorite places. So we just got a Hamburger Mary's over by where I live. But we also have
Ooh.
but I also love the Hamburger Mary's. You know what I'll also say too? Lips. Now, there's a lot to critique about Lips.
Yes.
However, their
Yes.
food.
Yes.
always on point. So I will say,
Yes. Yes. You are
there's a
not
lot to
wrong.
critique
You are
about
not wrong.
lips, but their
You're not
food
wrong.
is always on point and their drinks too. But I will also
Yes.
say Hamburger Mary's is great. If you're an IE girl like me, or you're coming down to SoCal and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be in the Riverside area, Back to the Grind, very gay friendly, very much a place that a lot of the queers in the Inland Empire go to or hang or do things with. Because they just have wonderful desserts and sandwiches. The people who work there a little catty. But if you could
Mm,
get past
mm.
that, they are really, really good at what they do. But yeah, I did want to say, like, I think I'm this convo is making me go, girl, you really need to see more queerness when you travel to different places, because I'm always on the road and I rarely ever stop to see like what's a good queer place
You
to
know,
go. So mhm,
I'm actually thinking
yeah,
the same thing of like next time I travel, if I find a queer place, like bookmark it, document it, right? And
yes,
like, because like even if I don't like it, I can still tell somebody about it, right? Like,
right,
I don't have to like it, but I can respect it. And if I
see,
know someone who's in that area, I say go to this place. I'll
mhm,
just I'll just say before we go, last commercial is they're allegedly opening up a Hamburger Mary's in San Diego, which they had one before and it shuttered in 2007.
oh
So I
damn,
pray that true that they're opening back up because I will live for it. It is just a staple for folks, and I do believe for many people, it is their entry point into like queer
queer
trans
culture,
life.
yeah, yep,
Much like Lips in San Diego is,
mhm,
if you're a San Diegan, um, correct. There's a lot to critique, but I will say I have gone recently, and I was like the bar has
mhm.
raised
Oh,
the price
they raised the bar.
the prices went up. I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, I used to go quite a bit, when I before I moved to the city,
Yeah, the
and
Sunday brunch is good.
yeah, and, and
Mhm.
I was like, "It's cute." Like, it's cute. Like, I have some favorite queens that perform there,
It's fun, yeah.
but it was cute. But I went recently, and I was like, "Oh, y'all are doing it. Y'all are really doing
Oh,
it." So
yeah.
it's really good. But they serve a unique spot for both queer folks and for the cishet folks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
they
they
do.
serve everyone there. And I'm not saying that as a dig. Versus, I think like I think Hamburger Mary's has always felt like more queer
Mhm,
space to
mhm.
me. But that said. The straights ruin everything, so they will definitely be in both of them at the same time, I'm sure. And they
The
love
straights
going
are
into queer
everywhere
bars,
when it comes
period.
to our spaces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they run everything in
So,
the street, so, just gotta say
my God.
that.
My lord today. Well, with that being said, we have to take one more break, but when we get back, we're gonna come back with your favorite segment. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, Pam will be back in just a second.
Yes, bitch.
All right, y'all. So this week I don't well, okay. So initially when I wrote this, I said I didn't have a yes ma'am. But I kind of do. I definitely wanted to say yes ma'am to there's just a lot of queer folks who are going through a lot of things, but I definitely wanted to say shout out to and they're listeners of the show. So my friend
Mm.
Jared and my friend Kyle, they were the ones who took me to dinner when I was in San Fran. They have no expectation that this is coming, but
They're
I
so
definitely
sweet.
want
They're
to
so
say
sweet.
both of them, yes, both of them have been such a rock for me in these last few years. We met on Twitter, we met in real life last year,
Mm,
immediately became really good friends. Saw them again this year and I was like every year I have to go up there to visit them at least because they make me feel so good about life. And so I wanted to say yes ma'am to
mm,
Twitter or X for bringing queer people together. But more than anything, I definitely wanted to just say, take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who speaks life into the show, who speaks life into the work that me and Joho are both doing. Um,
mm,
this shit is hard, and I wanted to just kind of take a moment to say on the mic, like I think we both make this look really easy, and I know we've said it so many times in the show that a lot of the girls just kind of flip their hair and they stunt, they go do things, they get awards and all of that, and then they come home and they cry, because at the end of the
mm,
day, like we are literally taking a lot of scraps and we're turning them into gold. And that is
mm.
really that's just what it is. That is really what it is. And when
Yeah.
you so I would say, for my yes ma'am, yes, I want to shout out all the girls and all the dolls and the friends who give us our coins and give us our love and our support. But I also want to shout out the girls who don't get the fanfare, who don't get seen,
Mm,
who don't get supported, and let them know, like, if they're hearing this, if they're listening to this, like, we are literally just a reflection of you. We are literally a reflection of all of the hard work that someone before us laid down. The queer person in the room who opened the door or gave us a contract, the girls who tell another girl about us and they say, oh, so and so told me about your show, so I came to listen and now I'm a subscriber. Like, all of that is, this whole episode really is about community. And I just definitely want to
mm,
say thank you to my community. Thank you to you, Joho, for being my
mm.
family and my community. um and yeah, it's just so much love. But with that also being said, so on the flip side of that, my no ma'am Pam for this week, you know what, I'm gonna scratch this no ma'am because it has nothing. So my no ma'am, okay, let me go ahead and get comfortable on my seat. So I'm gonna just say this off the fly. So I yesterday, I want to shout out Delta because Delta, they be having me. They forever. I don't know if like the Delta gods just love me, but anytime something goes awry or if I'm in a situation, the Delta gods, they always got me. So I'm gonna just share this. I was coming back
Okay.
from Utah and I switched my flight and I was so excited and so glad that I looked to do it because I was able to get home literally almost 5 hours earlier than when I was initially supposed to get
Oh,
home.
thank God.
But where
Mm.
my no right, girl. I was so happy when I got home at 8 o'clock. I was like, thank you, Jesus, I'm not
Whew,
gonna be home at 3 in the
baby.
morning. Oh, because driving home when you are that tired, it is, and that traveled and that jet lagged is it's a lot. It's a lot. But I'm gonna get to my point. So I'm glad, kind of glad I didn't, but I was getting prepped. Like I was going through my bag to so I have to say this. I have two of the same bags. I have a backpack and I have a smaller bag. And then I have a wallet that matches both the small bag and the bigger bag. Judge me accordingly. I had to put my small bag into my carry-on to put my wallet in my backpack. So I was standing in line at the Delta Sky Lounge and I was trying to I was getting ready to go inside and I had a question for the lady and I was asking her about some stuff. And the man, as I'm digging in my bag, and yes, he was, as I'm digging in my bag to get my wallet out, he tries to go around me. And I literally turned around and I said, girl, it's not that serious. And he was in his little suit. He had his little bag. He looked like one of those, I like to call them corporate bros. He was a corporate bro.
Mm,
And I looked at
mm,
him and I said, girl, it's not that serious. Like, I'm literally stopped here to get my wallet out of my bag. Like, you can wait. I go, you can wait. It is
mhm.
not like, oh, there's only 10 people that can be let into the Sky Lounge at a time and I'm 9 and you're 10. Like, that's not how it works, sis. So
Whew.
like I guess my no man Pam is like the people who just, and I had the same thing happen when I was going too. Like, a woman was trying to cut me to get into first class. Like, I know we've talked about it on the show, but it's like, y'all, like, y'all got to do better when you're out here flying because I really don't want to be on the no fly list. I really don't want to, but I am 3 seconds away from whooping somebody's
Mm,
ass in the airport. Like,
mm,
I'm just so tired, and I don't know if it's the pandemic that has done it. I don't know if it's just the lack of care that we have for one another as Americans. I don't know if it's
mm,
just travel culture is changing. I don't know what it is, but I have not been as stressed. Like, when I first started flying, because I used to, so I will say this, I started like really getting my life up in the air around like 2017.
mhm,
And it
mhm,
wasn't like this. It wasn't like I didn't fly with the tension of being like I really wanted to cuss somebody out. Now, like every 5 seconds, I'm ready to turn around and be like, get your life together. Stop.
mhm,
Like, what are you doing? Like, the way people treat these people in the airport. I don't know. Did you see that video of that woman fighting those people at that counter in the airport?
mm,
Recently there
mm,
was like
mm.
a
I'm
viral
not
video
surprised,
of this
but
woman. Yeah, she was like throwing stuff and jumping over the counter and stuff. It's nuts. And it's like, for what? For what? You're gonna get to where you need to go. Everybody's tired, everybody is stressed out, everybody's broke, everybody is dealing with mental health issues, everyone's
mhm.
hungry, everyone's a little jet lagged. Like, girl, knock it off. So yeah, that's my no man Pam for this week. People who travel and don't take into accord other people. Like, yes, I get it. You want to get to where you're going, but you don't have to be a shitty person in the process.
And you actually won't get there any faster. Like
Nope.
we all depart at the
Especially
same time.
or with a
Won't
bloody
get any
nose.
faster. Like that makes or people who rush their seat. Bitch, it's assigned seating. Like your seat will be there, and I will be there too. Like I mean, trust
And
me,
they
I
do
understand
that
the
for the
rush.
bag space.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. But like,
Mhm.
but see, like for example, I know on you because I fly you Nyla. If you're in boarding group 2, you most likely are gonna have your bag in the thing. So
Right.
don't push me, bitch. We're in the same boarding group. You'll be fine. Like you'll
You'll
be
be fine.
fine. But
You're
if you're
not
boarding
boarding
group
group 5,
4,
girl.
okay, then I'd be
4 or
like,
5,
sis,
you're
you better
pushing
watch
it.
out. You better watch
You're
out.
not
But if you're
getting any
two,
bag
bitch,
space.
you're good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
like if you're two, sis, like they even tell you on the mic, if you're boarding group 4 or 5, you might want to reconsider having that bag on
Yeah.
the plane. But
Yeah.
boarding group three, two, and 1, bitch, you're good to go. Like, don't even do
T.
it. So I push one you on that. My
Yeah.
yes man Pam this week is gonna go to our friends Travell and Jared for being nominated for NAACP Image Award for their work. So fucking proud of them and so inspired by them. I'm definitely
Yes.
gonna try and I'm gonna take us to their
Oh, I'll be there. Yeah.
Black phrases.
The live show?
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you plan on going, so let me know because I'm
I'm
trying
going
to go as
me and
well.
so it'll be me and friend to the show, Dr. James, who are going. So
Oh,
if you wanna go, I can
perp.
get you
Okay.
a ticket.
Yes, man. Oh, I think you were so sweet. I will get my ticket, but I
Okay.
will definitely see you there. That sounds amazing.
Okay. Yes.
My no man Pam is just going to be to people who see something and do nothing. That's just my no man Pam.
Oh, okay, okay.
Last week I had on my Mary walk around around LA, and this was such an LA moment. Mary walk around LA. I was just walking down the street, mind my business, and a tent, like, and I assume like a tent, someone who may be in house, a tent just combusted. Like it just in the flames. Bitch, I'm like la 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 bam, what the fuck? And so
Yeah,
like I
yeah, yeah,
I walked by, I made sure no one was in there. I was like, what's happening? People just driving by. I called police. I was like, hi, like fire department, like there's a fire on this crossroad. Like please come here quickly. I got to go, but I know there's nobody there. Like I don't hear and see anything. Also, there's also a big ass fire, so like maybe I can't tell, but like I no one's in there, no one's running around.
right,
Like it
right,
seems
no
like
one's
it's
running
an empty,
around, yeah,
vacant.
yeah,
And so please come here soon because it's burning by a building, right? But the amount of people that I saw walk by as well on that walk and just say nothing, I'm like, y'all, like you, like because
yeah, that's that
believe
LA
me,
way though.
I used to be the person that was like, someone will handle it, and now I'm like, actually, no, I'll just handle it myself, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The last night I was at the store, this woman was having trouble reaching something. Two people walked by her and did nothing. I was like, "Need help?" I was like, "Need help, miss?" She was like, "Oh my god, are you sure?" I was like, "Girl, yes, I have 2 feet on you, bitch. I will do it myself. It's not that big of a deal." Like
yeah,
y'all are so foul. Y'all running amok in these streets, amok, amok, amok.
yeah,
Like, what are y'all
yeah.
doing to just see
A
something and do nothing?
And it's just getting worse, and it's getting worse, it's getting
It
worse,
is.
and
It
I don't
is.
know, like I said, I don't know if it's just the stress of being an American at this point in time. Because and it's funny because what I will say is shout out to the lady who helped us over at Tony's, we went to Tony's up in San Francisco for dinner, the pizza spot, and the lady who was there was from Spain, and she basically was serving us, and we were talking to her, and I had asked her, said, "Girl, how long have you been here?" She was like, "Oh, I've been here for 8 months." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Are you enjoying it?" She was like, "No." She was like, "I'm leaving." She's like, "I have plans to leave by the end of April." She's like, "I'm going
Come
back to
on.
Spain."
See?
And I was like, "Oh, dang." And basically,
Yes.
that's what her that's what she said. She said
She was like,
that
America's
everyone
ghetto.
here is awful. And she was like, "I don't
Mm,
want to work here. I don't like working." She was like, "I don't like anything about American culture. I want to go home."
mm.
And it's sad. It's really sad that we're
Yes.
I want more for us. Like I want
Yeah,
more for
we don't have
us
to
as
live like
people.
this.
We
We
really
don't have to live like
don't.
this at all.
Everything is expensive. We're barely making it. There's so many stories and so many people. I mean, all of the stuff we're seeing, across the pond, all of the stuff that we're seeing in our government, the policies that people are
Mm,
ignoring, the ways that we're treating people who are being affected by these policies. It's just not like I don't
yeah.
like and I hate thinking like, I worry. I know I'm on a soapbox. I'm sorry, but I think about this a lot. Like I'm 38. I'll be 39 this year. And I keep thinking to myself, like, I pray that my body and my heart can handle living till I'm
Mm.
75, 80. Because with the way that the world is
Mhm.
going, like, even when I try not to
Mhm.
stress, I'm still concerned or worried about what next year or the year after is gonna look like, because I'm like, if it's this bad now, I pray it don't get worse, you know? So I'm mentally in a place where I'm just, I guess this is kind of like my call to action for people who are listening.
That's
Like,
so
if you
real.
can be kind,
Yeah.
if you can help somebody, if you can take a moment to give someone a compliment, if you can take a
Mm.
moment to just wave and smile, like, do it. Like, do it, because like, we're all drowning. We're drowning and it's not just like one or two people. It's like we are all drowning. It's really, really, really real out there. So, yeah.
Facts, yeah.
All right,
Mm.
y'all. But with that being said, there's still love and joy over here. So keep listening and tell your friends to subscribe. Please send us your thoughts, feedback, and email to blackfatfempod at gmail.com. You can also send your thoughts via social media by interacting with our post on Instagram and Twitter by using the handle BlackFatFemmePod. Queen Joho, where can the dolls find you?
I just did not see that one coming. That is like, it's one of those things, right, where discuss the darkness of life and like, but we're Gucci. Like, it was
Yeah,
just
like, bitch,
good. I'm screaming.
one monkey don't stop a show. Yeah.
Okay, of course, y'all. My loves, you can find me at Joho
Is
Dance
that
across
phrase
all
racist?
social.
Sorry,
Wait,
hold
which
on. Is
one?
that phrase racist? One monkey doesn't stop the show? I feel like it is. I bet you it is.
It just hold up.
I
One.
bet you it is.
Oh
Everything is
God.
racist. And did you also
Let
know
me see.
it's not you can't have your cake and eat it too? It's you can't have Kate and Edith too. We've been saying it wrong our whole life.
Kate and Edith. Who the fuck is Kate and who the fuck is Edith?
It's
Okay, hold up.
basically go ahead. Go ahead.
To your first one, it is a title of several songs in the R&B genre, deriving from a black phrase with the meaning of one step back should not impede progress. So
Okay.
it does seem like it's not racist, actually used by black folks on upon initial review on the Wikipedias. I could be totally
Okay.
wrong, but when I see it, I see black folks with it. So I was like, oh, so
Okay.
I think it might be good. Who was Kate and who was Edith is the real question. No, I ain't got time to find out who they are, but I just have the question for whoever's listening: who is Kate and who is Edith?
Ah,
Y'all,
that
you
is
will
so
find me
funny.
at
Oh, I'm screaming. I'm sorry.
y'all will not find them anywhere, but you will find me at Joe Nails across all socials at my website, jornails.com, or giving CPR to John because John is dying in this right now. And if not there, the nearest apparel store screaming at store managers, why don't they have our sizes in store? And okay, y'all, I need the defib. I need the defib. John is
I'm screaming because you said, who is Kate? And it reminds me of Kathy Hilton when she said, who is a hunky dory? That's why I'm laughing, because you basically were
it's
like,
Honky
who
Dory.
the
Who is
fuck is
Honky
hunky
Dory?
dory? Oh, that is so funny. Yes. Samira says that. If you cannot, yeah, what did she say about 4X and 5X? You need a bigger size. So yes,
Yeah.
please give us our bigger sizes. As for me,
Oh
you
god.
will find me down on someone's corner trying to earn a coin to purchase these Apple Vision Pro glasses. $4,500, Tim Apple. Tim Apple.
What?
$4,500. That's two Mac computers. What? Like, I bought them, but I just want to know, like, why is it so expensive? What is going on? But anyway,
Get
you
out.
can visit me at www.drjohnpaul.com, or you can find me online by using the at Dr. John Paul everywhere. We want to thank our team of producers, managing executive producer Anna Hosnia and Rebecca Ramos, and our supervising producer Bei Wang for handling all of the logistics of making the show go, and everyone over at iHeartMedia for keeping the show up and running. We would also like to shout out our wonderful mix master, sound engineer, and editor, Chris Rogers, because without him, there's what? No
No
flavor in your ear.
flavor in your ear.
I know that's right. This has been another show. Stay black, fat, femme, and fabulous. And remember, you gotta think big, bitch. Think big. You got to think big, bitch. I love us for real. Bye.